Greetings and salutations, my divine friends. We still have some folks back east in Ohio, and they're not freezing anymore. They're up to a warm 5 degrees. How marvelous. In sunny California, the last week, I always was doing my meditation outside in the sun, sunbathing, enjoying the warmth. Well, each have their choice, huh? And then just returning recently from Omaha, another one of our divine friends from out of the freezer, coming back to her divine home in Carmel. Welcome. The weather, whether or not we're together. That's a Christmas song, I think, whether or not we're together. So our work, as of course, is about the magic, the mystery of the star tetrahedron, this beautiful and amazing structure built of consciousness and light, formulated by, over time, focusing the light of the mind. In meditation, we're teaching it how to be a silent, focused instrument of light rather than scattered thinking, judging, criticizing, disliking. We're only doing that because there's some emotion within us that's creating a fog within our field. We're looking through the fog and we see something, and then we say, well, I don't like that. I'm judging that. Um, I don't want to be, near that. This is bothering me over here. And all of those things are only happening because we're looking through the fog of our own field. Just as you would look through rose-colored glasses, it would be a rosy-looking, wonderful world. And that's what we're doing, you see, in meditation. We're learning how to clear the field of emotion. All emotion within the body is simply lack of self-love. No error, no judgment, no criticism within that. It's an ongoing process within Earth and the development from out of very animal man-woman into the more enlightened species that is now moving in this new age into more of the evolution of the human divine form. So there's no self-judgment or self-criticism, but we're wanting to realize that when there is emotion within, it is simply, again, like a fog or a mirror that is now creating something out there that we're disliking, judging, criticizing. It doesn't mean that those things aren't happening, that people aren't miscreants or scofflaws or acting in strange and negative ways. But if we're in our clarity, in our equanimity, because we truly love ourselves, the aura is clear, and so there's no fog within it. And so we become the observer, the great observer of all reality. And we observe what's happening, but there's no emotion. There's just the observation of it. I was speaking with one of my friend clients the other day, and I said, I'm going to give you a new word because you have been growing so rapidly and finding the emotion within. There are a couple of things yet in your life that are coming up that want to get your attention and bother you. But your word now is, that's interesting. And that's really what life is. It's very interesting. And if we're living in that place of pure clarity and equanimity within, it's like living in a bubble of golden purity and grace. We look out in the world and we see the play of creation happening. Uh, this individual is being ignorant with this individual over here. Well, rather than dislike them or judge them or despise it, we simply observe the play is happening between those two people. Each of them is playing a part and learning from each other about how they can continue to grow and unfold by dancing off of each other. And so we have learned in our work together that there are no victims within the play of creation. They're simply actors and actresses that come together and they play their part. And it's a part that is being brought into form by the greater being we are, the soul, that is seeking to mirror itself within this three-dimensional reality. The soul is already perfect, divine and sacred light bearing fifth dimensional Christed being, Buddha nature, if you will, being. And it is seeking to mirror itself within the worlds of form to be able to, as we've been doing through all of our incarnations, put on form over and over. And as we are then encased within it, again, a choice to be here within it. We learn about the good, the bad, the light, the dark, emotions, feelings, love, karma. And in each incarnation, we then let go of some of the programming that has been given to us. And so, in that letting go of it and then of loving the self, the emotion, just like smoke, disappears. And as it disappears, we're no longer looking through the veils of our own ignorance. And we then begin to view the mystery and the amazing things that are happening all over the world with equanimity. That was one of the key words of Buddha, living in equanimity. It's what the Dalai Lama also talks about. When we're equal with all things, then there's no judgment or criticism. There's simply observation. And so this is why I was inviting this individual to go to the next level of their self-empowerment, self-awareness, and let the word, that's interesting, be their byword. And so as they're looking at everything, when something wants to come up, they want to react to it or be stimulated by it in a negative way. Then to come to that, okay, that's interesting. And then to feel through that lens, what does that really feel like when I say that's interesting? It doesn't evoke something in the body, some stress, some sense of tension. It's, oh, that's interesting. Because it is interesting. The world is such an interesting playground right now. And as we're going forth into the new year, we're very fortunate because we have the knowledge of how we get to create our reality. And that has come to us through, again, the work with the star tetrahedron, our meditation experience. But we are, again, most blessed because we who have come together tonight and those who we know within our circle of friends and family, we know that the star tetrahedron is the ultimate form of creation. It's the prism of living light that, as we then within the very center of it open the doorway, which is within us, within the heart chakra, that we are now again looking, peering into the void where all things exist, ready to come into manifestation. The whole universe has come into manifestation from out of the void through the Christ prism, the prism of living light. And so Source was able to simply dream from inside out. And as the dream came forth, it then touched the facets of this rapidly spinning star, which is power, love, unified. And as power and love are unified, one can then powerfully, which is simply focusing light and attention. That's true power. You're focusing light and attention upon that which you supremely love. And as you're then powerfully loving it, and that's what the Creator did with the universe. The Creator, the great being of all that is, simply was powerfully loving this extension of its possibilities into the magnificence of the stars, the planets. And here we are on this amazing rock of soil and earth and water and air spinning throughout the universe. And we are part of this great creative experience. And we're learning how individually to become creators, how we can begin to hone and refine the star tetrahedron. And as we do, we open the sacred doorway within us back into the void. We then esoterically see, feel within the void that which would be the joy of our creation. And as we're holding that, then there is an emanation up and out. It then creates this holographic light form that then moves out into creation. And then we see, feel, we then step into it. And so it's not so much using the mind to make, it's more I'm seeing and feeling the joy of my creation. And I'm then observing what are the feelings, what is the love, the joy that is then that I'm meeting in my daily life that's now bringing me to that fulfillment. So let me give you a little bit of an example of that. One of our dear friends, students, if you will, um, living in a small town in Colorado, was not really feeling fulfilled. Very dedicated and very disciplined individual, always involved in their meditation practice, always wanting to love and to serve spirit. And everything that this individual had been doing was about loving and serving, but there wasn't this sense of great fulfillment. And so there was this searching. And because this individual worked so powerfully with the star tetrahedron in this meditation, they begin to go inside and ask themselves, okay, as I'm feeling within the void, as I'm feeling into the possibilities of creation, what would be my greatest joy? What would really be fulfilling? And it wasn't so much images, fixed images this individual was seeing, it was more the feeling. And the feeling was, you know, imagining Earth within the star tetrahedron, within the void, and seeing it, feeling it, becoming more abundant. The key word that they were bringing forth was regeneration. And there wasn't really an idea, well, what does that mean? There was lots of words being thrown around about, well, what does that word mean? It's about the soils, about the air, about life, about the oceans. But they were simply holding this feeling of regeneration. And as they're holding it, you see, then that began to create an emanation up and out. And as it emanated out, it began to then move out into the world. This individual didn't need to know, well, where's it going? Where am I going to find it? How am I going to make it happen? They simply kept quiet and still holding the feeling of regeneration and earth and the beauty of possibilities with earth and resources. Lo and behold, they found a flyer, and the flyer said there's an event taking place in another town not too far away, and it's about soils regeneration, about how we can take the soils and begin to regenerate them so profoundly that all of the, that lives within the soil, all of the microbes and all of the small little animals, worms, etc., they become so regenerated that there's this flourishing of nutrients, the flourishing of vitality, not only within the soil but within the plants and the food. And so they then followed this feeling that simply now here is a signpost that said, okay, regeneration. The flyer was now forthcoming, and they went. And then it was such a joy and so wonderful. The individual said, well, I now want to share this feeling with my friends. So once again, there's another feeling. And it's really, you see, arising forth from within. And so they invited this individual to their small town and did a marvelous presentation. And people were filled with wonder and filled with possibilities and stimulated and excited. And this was then, of course, very exciting and a great deal of enthusiasm within our friend. And so they thought, well, I'm not really feeling fulfilled where I am right now. I think I'll go over to that small town over there, which is more of an agricultural, a little bit warmer climate, and I'll do some research. And lo and behold, again, here's this feeling of regeneration, the feeling of the excitement of bringing more life and joy and possibilities to earth and to all things upon it. And they got to this small town and began to talk to some of the people who in this group were involved in regeneration. And this one individual said, well, I have a marvelous farm that has a little bit of acreage, and I have a cottage on it. And I'd like to invite you to come live in the cottage and invite us, to help us within our projects. And so it just arose forth. It wasn't, oh, I've got to find a place to live. I've got to find something that will, bring me some income. It was like, okay, here's a gift. And the gift was coming because it was already pre-created. And in that pre-creation, then another individual within the group said, well, I know that there's a school down the road, and this is a very progressive school that works with some of the Waldorf principles, some of the Montessori principles. So it's very uh, new in its possibilities and its evolution. And so she said, well, that feels good. Once again, following the feeling of joy of what Spirit is presenting. Went there, and these people said, well, yes, we would love to have you come and do some teaching here at the school, and we have an opening. And you see how this all flowed. It simply flowed from what our theme of this talk today is: creating your new year. And the way that we create that is we gently flow into the void, into the realm of possibilities within, the silence, and we begin to ask ourselves, what's my joy? What's the feeling of that which would really bring happiness and peace and joy? And really, joy, you see, is one of the key words, because if you're in your joy, that's what spirit, that's what the great creator is really seeking to bring to all of life, more joy. Can you imagine the great joy of creating an earthly sphere with dolphins and sunsets and oceans and elephants and giraffes and food and magic? What an amazing, joyful playground. And so some great being created this joyful experience and then said, okay, I'm going to now bring life to you within this joyful playground. And you too can become a creator and create your joy. And so that's where we're at, you see, as we're going forth into the new year. It's not about, oh, dang, I got to find a relationship, or dang, I got to change jobs, or I'm not really feeling good about things out there. Feel those things, and those negative things will happen. Get quiet, go into this deep place of love and peace within, and you can journal. Well, it's a wonderful way to do it, to begin to write down, well, what are some of the feelings that would really bring peace and happiness and joy to me? Doesn't have to be specific images. If specific images come up, as with this friend of ours who saw earth flourishing and life just being renewed in a very dynamic way, that was the seed. It wasn't a specific seed, it was just a seed and a feeling. And then Spirit said, okay, we're going to now bring forth the possibilities if we just follow your joy and follow your heart. And so as we're going forth into the new year, I want to encourage you, all of you, to really know that within your heart, within this open doorway, all possibilities exist, and they exist in joy. And because they're now there, all you need to do is begin to focus upon them and feel, okay, what is my joy? What brings me happiness? I know when I began this work 40 years ago, I remember I sat down and I said to myself, well, if you had a magic wand, what would you do? What would you be? And I said, well, I would be a healer and a teacher. I didn't know how that was going to happen. I had no timeline. I had no pathway. I just knew that's what I wanted. And I said to myself, I'll give my life to that. And lo and behold, it's become so much more magnificent than I could have ever purposefully said, I'm going to make it this way. I'm going to do it that way. I kept following my heart. My heart kept leading me to new possibilities, new opportunities, new awakenings. And because I kept taking it into the laboratory of my meditation and feeling and honing and refining and creating more self-love and letting go of the emotion that created any things in the world that I was disliking or judging, it's become a magnificent life. And the more that I, again, create more clarity and peace, then it just vibrates out and creates that for the world around me. So as we go forth into the new year, we do create our reality. It could be, we might think of a challenging time in 2023, but if you're living from a place of love and a place of peace, you'll find prosperity. You'll be taken to a place of joy and health. You couldn't be in an accident. You couldn't be in a snowstorm where your life might be taken away. It's just not possible. It's the feelings within you, just as this dear friend had the feeling of regeneration, new beginnings, and that flower from inside out. Spirit then simply began to open the doorway because the prism of the star tetrahedron was simply spinning out possibilities. So this is where we're at for the new year, a very exciting and a very dynamic time in our evolution and our growth. And we can now really become dynamic creators in ever more powerful and clear way as we simply keep feeling deep within the joy of our meditation. What is the feeling that I would bring forth in my life? What's the feeling? Is it art? Is it dance? Is it music? Is it singing? Is it sharing? Is it, uh, it doesn't really matter what it is. I have another friend that decided that it would be her great joy to help people financially. And so she became quite an amazing financial wizard that brings lots of prosperity to folks. So, what's your joy? That's where we're going forth into New Year. You are the creator of your reality, and it's within your heart, within the void. Let it arise forth. Let it spin forth from out of the star tetrahedron, this living prism of light around you, and simply begin to pre-create vision that you then step into. You follow your heart, follow your joy. You'll simply keep flowing with it to another level of your fulfillment. So very exciting, very exciting. So one of the things that assists us, of course, in our work is our breath work. The reason it's so important, it's really two things about our breath work. When you're breathing deeply and profoundly, the mind can't be thinking. And so if you do come across something in your life that's challenging, or emotion begins to arise forth and you're being, again, your buttons are being pushed, if we just go back to your breath work that we are learning to be so deeply aligned with, the mind stops. And once the mind stops, then the veils within us, the fog, it begins to dissipate, because we're no longer holding the fog within us. We're no longer helping co-create an angry situation or a belittling situation or a disempowering situation. If we're creating a disempowering situation, it's because deep inside there's something that feels disempowered. It's not to judge that about oneself or to criticize it, but to simply observe it. Well, that's interesting. Let me find and feel this childlike part of me that still feels that way. And let me now be the Father, Mother, the divine mind of focused light, the power of supreme love that already is the divine being I am. Let me now reach down deeper inside and find out, where is that fog within me? Where is that emotion hidden within my bones and tissues? And let me feel it without judgment or criticizing. Let me now feel it with the light I am. As I'm feeling it, I'm now slipping through it, and I'm finding that divine child that I am, that I, the soul, created. And I'm now bringing power and light and love to this childlike part of me. And I'm living with that child 24/7. The joy, the magic, the creativity is now simply bubbling up every moment within and through me. Then you couldn't meet a difficult situation. You couldn't be disempowered. You couldn't be angry. The child is simply the soul informed that now, through the divine self living in harmony with that child, you then are the enlightened creator. Simple, but supremely challenging unless we take the steps, the chance to really meditate and be precise and tuned in our lives. So the breath work is also a very important part of, again, summoning and calling spirit from inside out. We know that when we're in breathing, this deep in breath, we're breathing in oxygen, but equally important, or even more important, we're then simply opening from the open doorway within the heart, spirit. This living water of life begins to arise forth, the living spring. It's now springing forth, and with your focused attention, your consciousness upon it, it multiplies it. Whatever we see and feel with a dynamic clarity, it creates more of it. And so as we're now seeing and feeling the breath arising forth, this beautiful golden living spring waters are rising forth. The out breath, we're letting go, and it's flowing through all the cells and tissues of our body. It's dancing in light activation out into the world. Another friend of ours was back east in the Midwest this year over the Christmas season. And when I chatted with her, she said that everywhere I went, be it in the mall or be it to the show or be it out to eat, I could feel this light activation coming from me. And I knew that I was here to bring light to this person and to this situation and to share the great golden light activation that we are then honing and refining in our lives. So it was really a thrill to talk to her about all of that, because she was very clear about what she was doing. Great joy with her friends and associates, but at the same time knowing that there was another higher purpose taking place. So the breath work, it's again a very deep in breathing, summoning breath from inside out, letting go. The dynamic golden light is flowing through the body and then bubbling out to the world. So let's do about 5 minutes of deep breath work. We always like to have the spine nice and straight, as though there is a string at the top of the head pulling us up. The spinal column is the rod of initiation upon which the 7 jewels, the 7 dwarves, are rising forth to be married in the mystical marriage of power and love. So let's do our 5 minutes of breath work. Feel the living spring arising forth from out of the heart. As the Master Jesus said, I am the living water, a true statement. He also said, I am the doorway. And that did not mean he, the person or the personality, but the open doorway within the heart into Source, God I am, the great God I am of all creation. I am the doorway. And very easily, slowly coming back into the now. It's quite wonderful the way the breath work just calms everything. The body just becomes peaceful and quiet. You can, of course, do it with eyes open if there's a situation in your life, if work becomes tense or a relationship feels a little bit fussy. In the midst of it, simply be quiet and come deep within and breathe source energy from inside out. Bathe the situation in this breath of liquid golden light coming from you. It's just like if someone is really cold and you go stand them in the sunlight, they warm up quickly. It's the same way with the breath and our meditation. We're simply bringing the warmth of eternal life really from inside out. And this is what our friend who went back to the Midwest was talking about, that you could feel as she was walking through the marketplace. There was this living sunlight that was emanating out and bathing people in peace and joy. The real Christmas gift. No doubt about it. The real Christ Mass gift. So the star tetrahedron meditation is about focusing the light of the mind. That's power. Again, power is not about muscle or about doing. It's about focusing light, attention. That's true power. And when we're focusing the light of the mind very clearly and precisely, it's just like the projector at the movie. Beautiful, pure light. At the movie, they then bring forth the film. The light shining through the film just illuminates the screen with magic. So it's the same with our creation. As we hold the mind steady and focused, we then see and feel the star tetrahedron. We image it in, imagine. That's the film. And as we're imagining it and feeling it, is then this beautiful light prism being created within, through, and around us. And as it's then moving and spinning, this open doorway within the heart that simply spirit, this living spring is arising forth from. It's touching the facets of the star tetrahedron and literally spinning out light activation. This is exactly what our friend who was doing as far as wanting to understand, well, what is her next level of creation? She simply went into the void and began to feel, where's my joy? And she then saw this feeling of earth being regenerated and life becoming more abundant and the healing of the planet. That was then the feeling arising forth. It was then prismatically being created in the world, and she stepped into it. Creation. So I'll take you through the activation of the star tetrahedron, then I'll join with you, and we'll create a magnificent Christ star at this time of the Christ Mass and the New Year beginning. So let's go ahead and close the eyes and feel the body relaxing. And once again, we can be aware of the breath and how the breath calms the body, how it summons spirit from within. And so the body is relaxing and becoming quiet. As we are observing our breath with spirit arising forth from within. We bring attention between the eyebrows. We imagine that we draw a line straight back, and within the approximate center point of the head, we imagine and we ignite the light. The light of the soul, pure light filling the mind, holding attention here, light increasing, true power focusing light. We bring it down to the heart chakra at the sternum and illuminate with imagination the star tetrahedron. Upper triangulation of divine sacred power. The lower triangulation of divine love. And as the star tetrahedron turns, it opens the sacred doorway within the heart chakra. And arising forth the living waters, Spirit. I am the light. It flows out into the world, creating light and joy and peace within all creation. I am the light. I will join with you as we create the true Christ Mass star. And very easily now, slowly coming back into the now. So thank you very much for joining this evening, my friends. And as we go forth into the new year, dynamic creation, it's your birthright. It's who you are. You are source in creation. You are a great drop of the ocean, learning how to know I am the ocean. And creation is then within the heart chakra. So thank you very much, and we will see you in the new year. Blessings, my friends.